This is Dr. Andrew Jones. In this edition of Veterinary Secrets, I'm going to be discussing dog food, specifically how the FDA has admitted that some pet food is sourced from diseased animal parts. So what's really in your dog's food? What is the best food to feed? Of all the many questions I get, that comes up so frequently. And being a dog owner, I have some of those same concerns. I wonder myself, is the dog food that you're feeding your dog, is it safe? Does it come from animals that have been already dead, that are decaying, that are diseased, that are dying? There are current laws on pet food now that stipulate that this should not be the case, that it should be illegal to put in an animal that has been dead for a period of days. It's been lying out in a farmer's field, and they have that animal rendered quote unquote safe. Exactly how, I'm not sure, in terms of how they're going to process enough to kill that millions of bacteria that incorporate that in pet food. Currently now that should be illegal, according to the specific laws governing pet food, but it appears that's not the case. Susan Thixton of The Truth About Pet Food, she's a pet food consumer advocate, extremely knowledgeable. I really do trust her information and her knowledge. She recently published an article where she was told this is not the case. And I just want to read exactly what she wrote and what was communicated to her by the FDA. So in March 2016, in a meeting with the FDA, the agency openly stated to her that they're going to continue to allow pet food to violate federal law. It said, we're going to allow animals that have died other than by slaughter, that are quote unquote further processed, and we will allow those ingredients in pet food. She then sent specific questions to the agency asking them to define what animals that have died other than by slaughter means. And they came back with this specific statement. Processed pet food, including pet food consisting of material from diseased animals or animals that have died otherwise than by slaughter, goes through a kill step, such as heat processing, which is designed to kill harmful bacteria. So in terms of deciding what pet food is best to be feeding your dog, clearly I think we'll all take home the message that we don't want to be feeding dog food that has had an animal in it that has been decaying in the field for days, and that is somehow rendered safe and harmless by additional processing. How can they ensure that those billions of bacteria are essentially dead, and that there aren't any other harmful ingredients? I was talking to my brother about this prior to making this video, and I gave him the example of this whole chronic wasting disease. So there's this disease of sheep called scrapie, this chronic wasting disease. So then those same animals, that sheep, was then turned into cattle feed, being fed to cows. And what did it cause? Mad cow disease. And then it just turned out that people could get a degenerative brain disease from eating those cows that had mad cow disease. Just another whole example of quote unquote smart people saying it's okay to introduce this into the food system and having it affect people. And do you really think they care that much about then what happens to dogs and cats? I think not. We're dealing here with huge multinational corporations that are dealing with in billions of dollars, and it's expensive, can be very expensive to make a quality pet food. So if you're going to become more profitable and you're going to expand your market share, you need to cut down on your margins. You got to figure out ways to make it less expensive. And perhaps when you've seen the price of beef rise, how it has risen dramatically within the last couple of years, they've got to look at ways to how can we, decrease our costs. Well, let's look at let's look at relaxing some of the laws. Maybe the FDA won't prosecute us if we get this animal that's not slaughtered, it's been dead for a period of time. But I'm definitely not comfortable feeding that to my dog, and nor do I think you should be either. So in this same article, she then gives a list of specific animal byproducts, certain things you need to avoid being in your dog's food to ensure that it doesn't contain an animal that has been dead, that has been decaying, that's potentially been euthanized. It's hard to believe potentially there could be euthanol within your dog's food, because not all those quote-unquote regulations are being enforced. So here's a list of some of the specific ingredients that you really should be avoiding, regardless of the price of the pet food. I'm going to read it to you now. Chicken byproducts, chicken byproduct meal, turkey byproducts, turkey byproduct meal, meat meal, beef meal, lamb meal, venison meal, meat and bone meal, animal fat, and animal digest. So then lastly what it is, I went to the store and I just picked up a bag of Purina Beneful, just to give you a list of the specific ingredients that are in it. Yes, you can make a comment whether you like my funky glasses or not. I now need them to read the fine print. So some of the ingredients in Beneful. I mean, the first ingredient is ground yellow corn. The second ingredient, chicken byproduct meal. And that's what she lists. I mean, if you want to ensure that there's not a dead, diseased, decaying, euthanized animal within your dog's food, you want to ensure it doesn't have any type of byproduct meal, such as chicken byproduct meal. And some of the other ingredients in it, just give you an idea of what's in this food: corn gluten meal, more flour, animal fat, another potential ingredient that can contain diseased or dead, dying animals. Then a whole number of different things, never mind artificial flavor, artificial color. As you can see, some of the ingredients, some of the colors of this food itself. So the purpose of the video is not necessarily to discourage you from feeding Purina Beneful, although I would for a variety of different reasons. But more importantly, just to let you know of what's happening now within pet food regulation, and specific ingredients that I think you should look for not being in your dog's food and avoid feeding them, just to at the very least ensure that the food that you're feeding really is safe. Thank you for watching this edition of Veterinary Secrets on Dog Food. If you have yet to do so, I encourage you to subscribe. You can do so by clicking that link in the box above. And then if you want to learn more, I encourage you to sign up for my new dog supplement webinar. In it, I'm going to discuss what food to feed, what food to avoid, and how you can treat your dog at home with food and natural remedies. And you can do so by clicking that link in the box above, or you can go to thedogsupplement.com/webinar.